PlayStation 2. Can I really complete all these games?
In your restless dreams, you see that challenge for the PS2. You've promised you'll complete all these games one day, but you never will. Well, you started this now. The end goal set, waiting for you.
I got a game. The name of the game said Silent Hill 2. Game number 5. It's ridiculous. Can I really do this? That's what I keep telling myself. One person can't possibly do this. There's so many damn games for this system. So then, why am I doing this? The PlayStation 2 Collection Challenge. What was I thinking? The whole library will take years to beat. Still, I've started this now. Even if I spend my entire life doing this, I'll get there. That victory will come one day. It's waiting for me. Konami is no stranger when it comes to PlayStation. They've been around for a lot of the PlayStation 1 and 2, and they brought out some incredibly iconic games that we're going to be seeing through the challenge. Games that are both a mixed variety of gameplays, genres, and settings. And of course, with these games, there was one in particular that was a huge, huge success. The survival horror franchise Silent Hill very much started its life on the PlayStation systems and showed its presence on the systems ever since. We started with Silent Hill 2 and it spanned another 4 later releases on the system, just to show you the length not only of the system itself but also the series and its games. I'm very lucky enough to own all these games on the system, so we'll be just following them in release order when they come up, however they come up. Starting with Silent Hill 2, a very huge cult classic, and to a lot of people, maybe their first Silent Hill of the series. But we will actually be playing this game twice, believe it or not. Unlike a lot of Platinum games, which are very much just the same release as a budget title, Silent Hill 2 Director's Cut, the Platinum release, is a very unique Platinum hit because it has the extra Maria story as well as some of the extra endings that they decided to add. So yeah, this will be the only Platinum game we include as a separate release and separate game to play. As of recording, Silent Hill 2 has been given a remaster project to the surprise of many, and goes to show you why Silent Hill 2 in itself is such an iconic game in the franchise. Team Bloober are working on this, and many people are hoping that this is the start of either more remasters or just the reignition of the Silent Hill franchise. To many, this is a very atmospheric survival horror game, so hopefully this just means great news for the franchise in the future. And it's a great way to, give Silent Hill 2 the recognition it deserves by giving it a play in this challenge again. If you've never played Silent Hill 2 before, it opens with a very iconic scene that many gamers would recognize if you have played it yourself before. We play as the character James Sunderland, who has received a mysterious letter from his dead wife. So he has decided to come to this town called Silent Hill, obviously for many different reasons, and one being how the hell is his past wife writing to him, and other surrounding things about this very atmospheric game. I have to say that obviously that's why I spoofed it when we did have this opening. It's such a super iconic scene. The music is just unbelievably iconic too, and it's an incredible, simplistic but beautiful way to open the player to this world of Silent Hill in such a matter. Also, Silent Hill 2 does not follow really any plot or story of Silent Hill 1. That would be Silent Hill 3, funny enough, though. But this one is just got the name itself with, some loose connections. After the iconic opening, you're just thrown into the game. No tutorials, no explanation. You walk around as James in the world of Silent Hill. Incredibly well done as well, I think. The use of music in this game is very subtle for the most part when you're walking around. The atmospheric sounds, the aspect of what you're really experiencing as a player. I really do love what they do here. And I think that's the reason why this game has such a good iconic artistic feel for a video game, especially a survival horror one. You're walking around in this worn down world. Why is it in this state of repair? What the heck has happened to this place? You got all these questions running through your head as you have to try and work out where to go. You are James. You don't know where Mary is. It's incredibly clever and iconic way to open a game, and I love it. Just lost. The sense of being lost is so well done here. As you continue to just find what or where you are going, you go through a few little areas and then suddenly you hit this graveyard, and it's quite a shock to the system, obviously. To think of all the places you encounter, the first place would be a graveyard in itself. And this is where we already encounter another character. Now, this character actually holds back her name for the most part, but it's honestly nice to see someone that is another face after what has been only James for the first part. You don't actually know her name in this first encounter, but you will later learn that her name is Angela, and she has come here because she's looking for her mama, or mother, as she corrects herself. Very much mama being the pet name she uses for her loved one. And James is here, thankfully, to tell her and ask her, where is Silent Hill? And is he going the right way? And even after she warns James of, you shouldn't go there, he doesn't care. Clearly, the letter that he got from Mary is enough for this force to be driven through him. That come it be risk, come it be mystery, come it be desire, he's going to go to Silent Hill, and no one is going to stop him. You continue going off as James then through more atmospheric locations like foggy, narrow, claustrophobic areas, trying to work out where to go in this first section of the game. While getting lost and working out where to go, there is a really nice little gameplay point I will talk about, which you can encounter at the very beginning of the game. First of all, there are these red pieces of paper. They are going to serve as your save point. They are the most obvious things. You find these, you interact with them. They're basically your safe spot to continue, save, stop playing the game from the point you're at. There's that. But the more impressive feature I love about this game, and it's so well done, is when we go from the save menu, you'll see James's head will subtly focus on an important item. As you can see, there's a health bottle here, and his head turns. And I love that about this game, because there's some games where the items that are hidden or to be picked up on the screen, and you're constantly dry humping the walls, spamming X, trying to make sure there's items there. So I really like how it makes you feel a part of the world while doing and finding items in it. While you continue to work out your bearings of the area, you'll encounter this dead end, but you're obviously able to keep going into this dead end. And as you go further and further in, you'll hear a mysterious humming, buzzing sound, which pulls you in like a moth to a flame. And this is where, obviously, the game introduces us to two main mechanics. One is this radio device, which you're going to be using that device more so for not communication, but as a warning for enemies that are nearby. As the radio starts to really freak out, and we encounter our first enemy of the game, this very freaky, grotesque creature. It's very well done as well. Obviously, you don't have any way to protect yourself. A sense of panic and anxiety would probably fill you if you've never played this game before. And you're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Do I run? Do I flee? But during it, James just goes, wait a minute, let's use whatever I can, and you get your first weapon. It may only be a wooden bat with a nail in it, but we've got to use any weapon we can because this thing is coming after us. So that's just what we do. Keep slapping it with the wooden stick. I get attacked and spat at, but we keep going. A few more whacks of the old glorious wooden stick, and it goes down. James even questions, is it truly dead? But also goes, it clearly isn't human, so whatever the creature was, it stopped moving, and thank goodness for that. With this scene now done and completed, your safety net of being lost in an empty world is very much removed now, as enemies will now be present on the map with the fact that we have our own self-defense mechanism. Honestly, though, the combat in this game is really better if to just run by enemies. You don't get anything for defeating enemy. They'll never drop an item. To my knowledge, I don't think they do, at least the normal enemies. And then you're just going through your resources of limited health items in the game. So, yeah, I mean, I usually did this in this game myself. If there was an enemy in the way, ideally just run around them, kite around them, because it's not worth your time and effort to just lose health over constantly picking on enemies unless you have to, like in a limited, like small tight corridor situation. Yeah, I never found the right time or the right effort to ever want to bother doing this. Needless to say, when you are walking around town with your new weapon, you either encounter this key by accident or by surprise while just exploring the different corridors and alleyways of the town, or you'll be given a hint to come to this alleyway later on, just in case. So the game is quite fair in letting you know there is actually a little secret kind of bar area which you can walk into, that bar area being actually the situation here. So you go in here if you haven't already found the apartment key, and there's a little interactive map here that shows points of interest for the player. So do that, and you're not going to get screwed over by this game in design. It will let you see the circles show the different points you can enter. One's an empty caravan, one is this building, and the alleyway there's got a question mark on it to give you a good way of knowing where to go. And the game does a fair explanation most of the time to lead you where you need to go if you feel like you're stuck. I've actually always considered some survival horror games to be very much a point and click interactive game. Silent Hill 2 definitely plays like that. It's not makes it a bad thing, but you very much are walking around trying to find that one particular item to have to move on or progress the next point. Silent Hill loves its keys. Keys, keys, keys. There's always you need to find at least a key somewhere to open a door to another door, to open an apartment, to get a puzzle item or a weapon to move on. It's just how it is. It's just my opinion, but it doesn't make it a bad game, but it's very much a gameplay essence and core gameplay mechanic that Silent Hill 2 revolves around. But anyway, after some stumbling around, you do eventually come across the apartment gate. We slap the apartment gate key in, and we're on to the next big progress leap of the game. And going back on my previous comment, this next section basically involves finding a lot of keys. There's a lot of progressive stuff like apartment keys, fire exit keys. So you're doing stuff in between while finding progressive items. But there are two iconic puzzles on this stage as well. First is the clock puzzle, and you need to find the clock key to be able to advance this one. And when you read a little diary entry about the names of the people on the wall, you set the clock to the correct point, and you progress at this section onto further into the apartment. Then there's the coin puzzle as well. This one's a bit more of a meatier, longer puzzle because you do find this cabinet quite early on, but the coins themselves are scattered quite vastly throughout the whole progress of this apartment, and it'll be one of the last things you are basically completing here, as it's the key you get from this puzzle basically finishes the apartment in itself and lets you escape from the apartment. Additionally, we are introduced with extra characters of the story as well. The first is the very annoying little girl. We don't actually know her name here at the beginning, but with her really useful help, she decides to remove our progressive key and runs away into the shadows. And we'll be doing this a lot during the game, actually. But that character is Laura, and we will be seeing a lot of her. There's also Eddie as well, a very mysterious character to begin with, who, yeah, his sounds of vomiting can be heard when you enter the room. And as we try and talk and work out why he's here, what's going on, there's a lot of mysterious air about him. There's a dead body in the room outside. He doesn't know how they died. He's very visibly sick and uncomfortable about whatever's been going on. But Eddie, a character to begin with, there's a lot of awkward and eerie tension about him, I will say that. The novelization goes deeper into his background, which the game itself won't explain. If you really want to look into Eddie's character, there's a lot of bullying and him killing and threatening the bully that he was suffering with. There's a lot of a deeper character build that the game doesn't reflect on too much, but it's something if you're very interested and want to do some homework, there is a lot more novelization to this game in particular. Then we also are introduced to the iconic antagonist of the game, that is Pyramid Head himself. And before even the infamous cutscene that we'll see, here he is just staring at the player, doing nothing. It's very intimidating. I love it. If you're first time playing, you probably are very confused about who it is, what it is, and I really love how they introduce him just from that as a standpoint alone. Here's the scene though, with just an intense scene of movements, grotesque confusion, and just you as a player going, what the hell is going on here? Time and time again, you would maybe look back on this later on, but for your first experience, just like James, you are awestruck. Just what is this Pyramid Head up to? What is he doing? While James is in this state of confusion in this cutscene, conveniently there is a bullet clip to the side in this cupboard we're hiding in, and he just bravely pops some shots right directly at Pyramid Head with some great success to the point where Pyramid Head is, instead of going after him, he runs away. And luckily, for the time being, James's ass is saved. During the final sections of the apartment, though, we are reintroduced to Angela, because this is the final section to get the last coin. We need to come here anyway. It's very much scripted. But this is where they finally introduce each other. They finally learn their names. James and Angela start talking more, and James is clearly seeing that knife glinting in the mirror and saying there's better ways to do it. There's other things you can do. The contemplation and thoughts of suicide very much are here. And Angela even really kind of sends some home truths back to James as they carry on their conversation together here. Angela also has a very tragic and heavier story if you read novelizations about it. She has a lot more issues about trust and people around her. Her family issues are really quite something as well. But the game doesn't go too much about it. There's like everything, there's vague, subtle hints and there's stuff you can try and theorize and put together. But the novelization helped even more explain it to people and open their eyes more to these characters that are all in the world of Silent Hill. As the conversation deepens and James reveals that he's looking for his dead wife, it obviously causes Angela some deep worry, and but the body language is clear as she pushes herself away and wants to move on and be by herself. James obviously says, "You don't need the knife. Let me hold it." But look, she panics, obviously very much not trusting him for that brief moment. Angela does realize that she's been a little bit too quick to panic, but still puts the knife down. The knife serves no purpose combat wise. We can pick it up, we can keep it as an item. Its real reason is if you want to interact with it a lot during the game, you can get one of the other endings. This ending with the knife is the water ending, I believe. James's suicide, more to be precise. With everything done, though, we do get the key to finally leave the apartment, but not before being stopped by one individual that we've just met. Yeah, he's here, and we've interrupted whatever he's been doing in this room. And, well, what else is there to do except to take his ass on? And that's just what happens. Now, I'll be honest, the combat in this game, for the most part, can feel very clunky or a bit, I don't know, meh. Sorry if I'm being a bit judgmental, but this is the one issue I had with Silent Hill 2. Like, this boss fight and most of the other boss fights is just back in a corner and shoot him. Like, the one thing you don't want to do is get hit by the giant ass knife that he's got swinging around. We get very lucky. We don't really get hit by him. I get grabbed by him at that beginning part, but then that's just what this is all about. It's just keep shooting, and you're given so many bullets if you do some of the puzzles. Like this, there's a safe combination safe puzzle to get some bullets. And once you've shot him enough times, he kind of gets the hump and just walks just walks away. Just like, oh, all right, you win this one, James. Look, one last dangerous swing to try and scare me. I guess that was just a protective swing. But then, yeah, you just wait him out to go to the very bottom of the stairwell, and you beaten him? Question mark as a player for the first time. The combat's a little shallow, but most of these survival horrors all played the same. The old tank control Resident Evils, the Silent Hills, all the third person kind of over the shoulder, more in-depth combat was only really built upon later on, so I won't give this game too much harsh criticism about the combat because it was very much the same thing followed by most of these developers. With Pyramid Head behind us, or at least disappearing for now, as we are going through the town to try and find Mary still, we encounter Laura finally fully in the flesh. She fully reveals herself and she starts talking to James. And once again, it's a situation where James is starting to talk about why he's at Silent Hill, explaining himself about Mary. But Laura seems to actually have quite a lot of information and mystery regarding her. And James is very interested in Laura, especially. There's a lot that she may be hiding. There's a letter. She knows a lot about Mary. She exposes James's like desire for Mary and how he's not worthy and stuff like that. So for the next couple of moments, that's exactly what James is doing, trying to chase down Laura and obviously get information about Mary. However, during this moment, James thinks he has found Mary, but no, this is a very important character of the game. We are encountered by Maria, who, to James's surprise, has the looks of Mary, has the kind of appearance of Mary, but has a very differing personality. She's more lustrous. She's a bit jealous of Mary as James talks about her, but still, there's a chemistry already you can kind of feel. James is confused and very much at a loss of what to do when he experiences his first moments with Maria. As of a side note as well, I had already beaten this game in the past before, and I got the in the water ending. So during this playthrough, I wanted to try and go for a different ending I hadn't got before, and I decided I was going to go for Maria ending. There is a third ending on initial first playthroughs called Leave, that involves Laura mostly. But yeah, I thought as Maria as a character, I wanted to go with her ending, so that's what I did. And during the course for a Maria ending, you have to make sure Maria doesn't get hurt. You have to talk to her and interact with her at different points of the game. I vaguely knew what to do, so that's exactly the approach I was taking for this. So yeah, I hope going for a different ending is what I was intending for. But as the conversation between James and Maria continues, Maria's trying to remind James of other special places, and then he's given a flashback of the hotel that they spent time with together. So that is his now initial goal, to get to the hotel. And the end point of the game, thanks to Maria giving him that flashback, that is our next objective and main objective, to get through Silent Hill and get to the hotel to hopefully find Mary. And Maria's up for it as well, so that's great, isn't it? So let's get going, shall we? Maria will now be a companion from this point forward after a little bit of guilt tripping towards James. But actually, she's not too much of a problem or an issue usually when she's following you around. The AI is pretty fair, and also the enemies themselves are very easy to deal with on the most part. And to get the Maria ending, you have to be a bit cautious. Obviously, if she takes too much damage, I think it affects the chance of getting the ending. But with a pistol in hand, it couldn't go wrong, could it? So we continue being Mr. Good Bodyguard. As I said, shooting, keeping Maria at distance. It's combat gets very simplistic once you have the ammo and the firepower to deal with the enemies. They are very slow, and yeah, just a couple of shots, kick them down, and we're trying to get to our next objective. The next objective obviously gets encountered quite soon after the bowling alley, but Maria's pretty against bowling. She'd rather stay outside with the impeding evil enemies that lurk. So we have to go in ourselves and leave her be to her opinions of bowling. Up to her, right? The bowling alley actually houses two familiar faces that we've met not too long ago, which now is Laura and Eddie having a conversation. Laura is not one to hold back on her words. She casually just calls Eddie a gutless fatso, and with Eddie's past and his bullying in the novelization, I don't think he appreciates the line too much. But Laura's a kid, so we let her off, right? This conversation shows more about Eddie and him trying to confess what he's done in the novelization. Like I said before, he kills his bully's dog and shoots him in the knee, and this is like his reasoning and explanation about the issues and problems he's having running through his head. James quickly butts into the conversation, but Laura's already kind of vanished. And as Eddie tries to remember James, which has only been a couple of hours maybe in game, we are then teased by Laura. And at the moment, the only thing on James's mind is getting and talking to Laura, because obviously this is his main quest. He wants to get some information on Mary, and Laura seems to be the only one that has any information on her. And obviously, trying to get Eddie to join us is a pretty impossible task. So I guess it's just up to us to venture on and get our information we were truly, truly looking for. So Laura's disappeared outside, and we don't know how to go our ways to get there. But Maria seems to be a jack of all trades because she shows us where to go. We don't know how to get through, and she just rolls her eyes, pushes James to the side, and with a little something, does a little flick of the wrist, and ta-da! Let's get moving, James. Hot on Laura's trail, we eventually encounter her to a dead end, and, well, she's able to quickly slip one last time into, oh, great, a hospital. Yeah, nothing's gonna go wrong here, right? Hospitals are safe. People go there to be safe. Yeah? Oh, great. Silent Hill Hospital has a very good claustrophobic and ambient feeling of fear. The infamous Silent Hill nurse is the go-to cosplay Halloween costume character, appears here a lot. But as long as you have your firearm, the enemies just are very easy to control on a one-on-one, and with how compact and tight these corridors are, that's all you need to do. Just keep Maria behind you and funnel the enemies towards you. Give them a couple of shots, a kick in the face, and we're pretty safe, as we should be. The same rinse repeat gameplay elements here. There are lots of doors, lots of locked doors, lots of mysterious puzzle elements to this game. This door at the very end of this corridor, though, S14, houses, I believe, the most important item of this. There is a lockbox on the table in here, which has several different locks in itself, and without removing all of them, there's a key item inside. We can't progress the level anymore until we've removed all these goddamn locks. The developers thought, though, that we shouldn't need to worry about Maria following us too much. There is a moment where we go into another small room, and Maria very much is feeling fatigued, a little bit ill or sick, coughing. She says it's nothing important. She's just had a hangover. James is very cooperative, though, and feels sorry for Maria. She should rest, and he's going to deal with the rest of the hospital while she takes care of herself. So, yeah, good for you, James. Good for you. Guess that Little Mary inside of her gives you some soft feelings towards her, doesn't it? So as we let Maria have a little rest, we are trying to find every clue imaginable, every key item we can to open that lockbox. But someone decides to, well, completely smack our asses off the roof of the hospital while we're exploring. I mean, it does help progress, but yeah, we do take a big blow to the gut doing so. What's most important is that we're still alive, and with all the items we've eventually gather, we're able to open the lockbox in that room with the eerily creepy item, in my opinion, a long single strand of hair, which is going to be thick enough, at least we hope it's going to be thick enough, to tie to this hook to make a makeshift fishing line. So, with that in our inventory, we go to the room with a mysterious little drain pipe and do our best. And it is with this magical, thick, long, single strand of hair we are able to fish out the key item that lurks at the bottom. I do love this eeriness that they do. Silent Hill is very good at dragging out a scene to kind of give you that atmosphere, and that's what happens. Like that long, drawn out scene that's unfolding here is like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Oh, it's a key. But it is the elevator key that we need to get through the other sections of the hospital. So it's a good job that we did fish that thing out. The ability to get around the hospital more does help, though, as we eventually get further into the depths of the hospital and encounter once again our lovely little friendly face, Laura, that is just innocently playing in one creepy ass corner of this room with these bears. She doesn't seem phased at all by the location she's in. She's very happily giggling away, messing around with all these bears, and very surprised for a moment to notice that James has just randomly joined her in this situation. James said he'll keep a cool head while he asks Laura what she knows about Mary, and she says that she's met her through hospital last year. But James bursts out, "You liar!" because he knows that Mary has been dead for 3 years prior, and hearing this information from Laura saying that she's been able to speak with her from last year causes two miscommunications between the two of them and separates obviously a conversation that otherwise was going to go quite smoothly, hopefully. James tries to calm down the situation. Obviously, Laura is just a child. They need to get through this together, especially because Laura is James's only real hope at the moment through Silent Hill. So he calmly asks her to follow him as they get out there together and safely find a way so they can both get to where Mary is. But before they can leave, Laura asks James one small favor to go into this room because obviously she's forgot that there's a letter left at the back in the drawer. So James will do anything at the moment. That's all he can do. So as he slowly creeps to the back to try and get it, he gets duped. Double duped. He gets locked into the room that Laura led him into, and there's, well, some creepy entity in here. Why, for the reason? Well, you shouldn't call a little girl a liar, should you? That's why, James. So her revenge is on getting back on James for calling her a stinky liar is you're stuck in this room. But obviously Laura doesn't know the impeding danger that's in this room, so it's all up to James now to deal with, well, more damn trouble. Laura sadly clearly doesn't want to work with us. We really wish she could. And looks like we're going to have to deal with some evil enemies now. But hey, Laura, please say something just to help us out here. Please? Oh. Oh, thanks. The fight in general, though, if you're good at managing your surroundings, isn't a big deal. Obviously, with what I do here, I run into the corner, pepper a few shots with the shotgun, rinse and repeat. Just kite around the enemies and just do your best, stay on your toes. I get hit near the very end, but once again, it's simple combat in this game. It's a layer of gameplay that's all mixed together to make a delicious sandwich, isn't it? You know, the combat isn't a selling point of this game, but it works for the most part. It's not like you're struggling in these boss fights, and that's what matters most, isn't it? We're not getting frustrated here. We're just getting through this situation. Still, as we feel around in the dark and carry on getting through this hospital, we find a little secret door behind this bookcase, so we better go check what's behind it. But before that, ah, Yes, Maria. We completely forgot about her, it seems, on that bed, and she's not happy about it one bit. Even worse, I mean, James goes, Mary, to start off the conversation, so I'm not too sure she'd be pretty happy that that's the first words out of his mouth after they've been separated for so long. There is quite a heated debate going on. Well, more so Maria just kind of really laying in on James because she's been left behind in this scary place. She didn't want to be left behind. And she definitely feels like Mary is the only thing that James cares about, which is true, really. That's why he's here. And she tries to lay a bit of a guilt trip on him. She very much feels like a second thought. But then James obviously tries to say that no, 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 it's not just you're also important. And then a little bit of a kind of sweet moment between them happens. It's a little bit touching. But then, of course, we see another side of Maria, which is quite sweet actually. She asks, have we seen Laura? Which we have. And there's something about Laura that even Maria is concerned about and she wants to help him. So it's really nice. It's a bit of a motherly side of Maria comes out over Laura. I wonder why, but still, yeah, it's more important that we're now together again and we can get through this hospital together as well. Maria actually does serve an important role during this part of this hospital section. You need to find two rings on this very hard to find wall. Honestly, during my playthrough, I missed this. It's only thanks to like someone in chat who reminded me. Did you remember the ring puzzle? That I was like, oh my god, how did I miss this on the wall? I already found the two rings that this picture required, but I could not for the life of me find this. So I was lost for a little while here. But still, you need Maria because she pushes a fridge earlier on in this chapter to get one of the two rings that we need to progress. But with that and Maria by our side, we are able to input these two rings and open this door to get our asses out of this very well worn out old hospital. Someone definitely doesn't want us to escape, though, before we can get out of this hospital. And it's a very iconic moment of the Silent Hill 2 game here, where you're running through this claustrophobic corridor and you can hear that familiar sound. And I love this moment here where you're going around the corner and you can see it through the window. There he is, Pyramid Head. And you can hear just Maria getting attacked by him as you keep running and running, and you're just panicking, wondering where to go. And at the very end, there it is, that glorified elevator open, waiting for you, thank goodness. But the door closes in as Maria desperately tries to get in, and you're trying so badly to get her through, get her through. The doors won't open, and then just as you think you can get there, you try and you beg, and then suddenly, the sound. Maria has been attacked or something. We don't know. And the doors close, and James is at a loss. Now, this next moment, I'm gonna just let you guys hear it. I love music, the use of music in video games, and this is such a good moment of how the tonal change and James being lost is so well done here. Come on, James, get up. I know it's shit, but we've got a job to do. Ah, sometimes I just love music. Sorry, sometimes I'll be talking about it in games when I think it really hits a deep impact, and Silent Hill is great at doing musical direction. Anyway, so with that low music still playing, we need to find a way to get out of the hospital. We find this flyer with a key, and it basically spells out to us of basically where James needs to get going next. So the map will circle some important key locations, and we are on and basically on our way to the next place where hopefully we find some sort of trace of Mary. And after everything James has gone through, he has a little bit of a internal thought moment where he thinks of everything that's already gone on through the events of the game, it being Maria, where's Laura going, and then finally Mary. Does he still go after Mary? Like with everything that's already happening in this town, should he? And then suddenly, look, is this a way of taking? And then he stops snaps out of it and goes, "No, Mary is important still. Let's get to Mary." But what could he have meant by that? We're making our way towards the next objective, and I've already played this game before, like I said, so I knew of basically there's a shortcut here. Well, not a shortcut. You need to go through here, I think. I don't think there's any other way to progress. And there's this wall, and I just couldn't get through it. I thought, oh, maybe this isn't the right shortcut or right access point because I was spamming X everywhere. And then, like, I had to come back 15 minutes later and I was just like, why can I not get through this door? And there must be a very fine pixel point to open the door. But thank goodness it finally triggered. And I was mind blown. I was like, what? But yeah, I mean, hey, what's more important is it wasn't a glitch or anything, but it was just a very frustrating moment I just wanted to point out. You can spend the next couple of minutes, even an hour or two if you wanted to walk around this part of Silent Hill all over again now. It becomes a bit of a semi-open world experience. Go find items that you need to find, but the real point is to go to the points marked on the map to get the key item to get into the Historical Society of Silent Hill and just get onto the main story part of the game. But the game doesn't force you to do anything. There's enemies walking about in the older areas you've been to. There's like bullet caches and health points and pickups. So do this next section for however you wanted to do it. I just pretty much ran past everything and I had to get to my next goal because I've played this game before and I pretty much knew where I was going. When you decide to finally reach this next section of the game, it really does a lot to the player to really kind of send you to this depths of confusion, insanity, and everything else in between with Silent Hill now. You will be exploring the historical society building, and it's all very worn down, like it has been. And, nothing really too dire different to begin with. We're all ready to experience whatever this building's going to give us, yeah? But then you find this hole, this obscure opening in the back of one of the rooms calling to you and really the only way to keep going forward. So you just go and go deeper and deeper and deeper. Like I said, this game is so good with its world building and atmosphere, and it just pulls you in, drives you more down and down and down. And you feel like you've hit another roadblock. And do you keep going? And you have to. There's nowhere else to go. So James is got no other option, and he does. And this was so good about this. I just love it. Like you wouldn't do this, but James does. Throws himself into more confusing, mysterious, dangerous scenarios, all because his drive to find out where and what Mary has been doing this last 3 years. As James continues to literally dive into danger at points, he eventually hits another roadblock. Lost, confused, but we finally see a familiar face. Maybe not a friendly face, as Eddie seems to have slipped into a more sinister, depraved mindset. With a dangerous look to his face and obviously packing some serious firepower now, Eddie really starts to show his darker side, his true side, maybe, of what no one's really been seeing beforehand. Eddie seems to be very confident in admitting that he has killed someone. They had it coming, they deserved it, aspects coming through the conversation. And Eddie's not phased one bit about doing so. And when James speaks up about it, Eddie suddenly becomes very protective about what he stands for and what he does. It's a very awkward situation to be in. And you can imagine if you were James, you're in a room with a potential killer on your hands. We get some segmented bits of his past about the dog that he killed from the bully's standpoint, but it seems like a switch changes in his head. And he tries to play it off, laugh it off, goes back to normal as he slips out the room. Eddie clearly has changed, or at least slipped into something that we've got to be careful of. The prison section really does build some amazing atmosphere. There's so many good uses of game design and sound design here to really give you a sense of anxiety and senses of fear, which is what it's meant to be. Like, for instance, you're lost here. You're lost in the well, and the sound design here. Oh my goodness, it's just so good. Like, the sense of being. I hate the sense of being stalked, honestly, myself, and this game does it so well. Even though I played this before, with panicking. Even here,
Oh, I saw that. What was that?
it made me. I started seeing
I'm
things.
sure I
I
just saw
started
something move.
thinking I saw stuff, and the sounds,
Ow.
the atmosphere. It's so good at this section here. It works so well to give you like heightened fear and anxiety. Well done on this creation of the world and everything about it. There are several puzzles as well in this dungeon. Melting wax to make a handle, finding pieces of a puzzle to open up another access point. And with that in between, it's the same combat. You get to shoot the enemies. Nothing too special. It's just, a different atmosphere and a different kind of claustrophobic environment for you to get lost and try and find your way through. An old friend of ours is also down here while you're walking about. As you bumble into the walls in the darkness, a good old friend Pyramid Head is here, but poking you with a big stick or spear, giving you some deadly action another way. So, like, how dare he do that? He's a bit of a dum-dum, and there's actually a little bonus secret area you can go to if you want, where you can actually pick up the big, huge-ass knife he was using earlier on in the game. Well, he wants to use a spear, so hey, if he's going to leave his big-ass knife lying around, we can take it ourselves and use it as a melee weapon if we want. I remember it being very slow, though, so, stick to the pew-pews, because you got so much bullets in this game. It's the better way forward, right? Much more puzzle solving and piecing together different sections of the level, and we encounter Maria again, which is a huge shock to James because surely we just saw her die. And it takes definitely a few moments for James to collect himself as he starts talking to Maria again. But Maria seems off this time. There's something weird about Maria. She very much talks or knows as much as Mary would know if we were talking to Mary. And as she keeps going on and talking to James, James starts questioning himself about who exactly is sitting in front of him. James is still obviously confused and questioning just what happened to her, but Maria forgets everything that's just been told and gives James some hard truths. All about the hotel, all about that videotape. Why is she suddenly telling James this? And what exactly is going on? Once again, we're at a moment where we are playing as James. James is as confused as we are about who now exactly is this person and everything else revolving around the world. With so much confusion and doubt, James finally addresses the situation, asking, "Are you Maria?" Which he just answers, "I am if you want me to be." Who is this person then? Has James just fragmenting and thinking of this person to himself? Is Maria a consciousness he wants to experience and see? Who knows? But James still continues. And with Maria's kind of lustrous and mysterious desires she delivers to James, he still wants to go and get to her on the other side of these bars. So on our quest, as we try and get to the other side of the bars, we actually go for a few more rooms, a few more little puzzles in between, and eventually counter a familiar face once again. This time it's Laura again, and she's confronted by quite the demon. And she's pretty lost in the moment here, so luckily we turned up at the right time to save herself from whatever this being truly could be. As I've said in previous comments before, the combat here isn't too much of a problem in this boss fight. Just pepper him with several shotgun blasts, and this weird, creepy demon bed thing eventually goes down after we send some good old shotgun blasts to its torso. With a final blow to it, though, the demon does eventually fall down, and we go and try and help poor Laura that seems to be quite helpless in this situation. But before we can get to that, she gets up and decides to really make sure that this damn thing is finished off, to the point where she drops that TV on him and absolutely finishes it off. She really didn't like the presence of this thing. As we near the tail end of this game, all these reoccurring characters start to really, well, not maybe open up, but you get to really learn more about them through the conversations with James. Laura is no exception. As the conversation continues, you can clearly see there is a deep, deep trust issue she has with people, especially with men in particular, it seems, where she seems to think that men only want one thing in life. And it's understandable with the trauma she's gone through because suddenly she starts to break down and feel, well, not even feel visibly sick. She is visibly sick over it, absolutely disgusted by whatever has happened in her life with men in particular. She just doesn't want anything to do with them at the moment or any trust. Just leave her alone. And that's all we can do, really. There's a deep trauma that we're never going to help prevent. We've done all we can for Laura, but the most important thing in James's mind is to be able to get on the other side of the cage and get to Maria. And eventually, after those events, we do just that. But it seems we're too late. As James enters the other side of that cell, Maria is lifeless, sitting in a pool of blood on the bed. As James just stands there bewildered. What the hell has happened to Maria? Her body absolutely blood covered in bruises and violence. There's blood on the stomach, actually. Whatever has happened to poor Maria, it is a very brutal attack. Oh, no. And once again, James is just dumbfounded, but also, I can imagine, just deeply emotionally shot to bits. It seems anyone he tries to help, or anywhere he tries to go in the world of Silent Hill, he is constantly getting emotionally tormented. James really doesn't have much time to mourn, though, as we continue going further into this labyrinth of mysteries and weirdness. We are then once again encountered with another familiar face. But oh boy, is this familiar face quite the different familiar face we've met. Once again, we find Eddie with his lovely new toy, that black revolver. And he definitely has slipped into a state of mental instability now. Eddie starts to reflect on his bullying, his lines, his descriptions he was given, and he definitely remembers all of this, and it's a boiling pot of hatred inside of him. But then he obviously gives some truths in the end, really. It doesn't matter what we are or who we are. We all are born the same, and hell, we all die the same. I mean, Eddie can spout some truth sometimes, but not really at the right point when you got a gun in your hands, maybe, Eddie, dude. That tool that he's been holding on to, though, has given him some real confidence, but not in the right way, I think, as he's very casually able to mention that he'll kill anyone now that gets in his way. James obviously tries to give him some sort of rhyme or reasoning to try and calm down, but it's too late. It seems Eddie's gone too far. And like that, Eddie just turns. It doesn't matter anymore. There are no friends in life. The only thing he sees is enemies. With the warning shot fired, it's time to actually take on our first human enemy. Eddie and James are going to fight to the death, it seems, and after a couple of shotgun shots into the stomach, Eddie's like, oh no, I can't deal with this. It's when we get to the back of the meat locker to chase after Eddie more that he exposes and reveals his past, where the amount of bullying he's had has just took a toll on him. He loves to explain how he shot the bully's dog and how the dog slowly died. Then he even enjoys the fact that he shot the bully in the knee and he'll never be able to play football again, to the point where he's obviously caused a disability to him. Eddie has completely lost his mind, and I think it's obviously from that first true kill he did. James tries to explain, obviously, that killing is really not something we should be doing in life. But it doesn't take long for Eddie to take that comment and throw it back in James's face. What the hell does he mean? Him and James are one and the same? My. What does Eddie know that we, the player, don't know? The true final battle to the death between these two now occurs, and it's such a clunky fight. I mean, you'll quickly watch it for yourselves what goes on. I mean, if you saw this in a gunfight in real life, I mean, it'd be unbelievable. You keep shooting Eddie in the belly, and he just keeps trying to punch James. I mean, these punches do some quite a meaty amount of damage to him. But look at this. Look what a sad sight these two are having to try and kill one another, because only one of them can come out on top here. Of course, it's us. We've got enough shotgun shells to destroy anything and everything in this town, and Eddie is the next to suffer. With Eddie's lifeless body on the ground, James goes to check on his corpse and is come to the realization that he's finally killed a human being for the first time. And look at him, he's just lost. I mean, who wouldn't be after killing a human life? Poor James. After we do defeat Eddie, we are actually outside again. Like, my goodness, is that labyrinth has been quite the labyrinth in name and length. And we have a boat. James just hops right on in without a word of hesitation and sails away. And this is one of the weirder parts of this game. You literally row about to try and get to the next goal. The next objective is the hotel, and that's just what you do. The main gimmick of this sailing is to follow a very bright light in the distance to eventually get to the next stage. Once we are firmly on the ground again after our little boating adventure, we stand proud with James as he finally lays his eyes on the one location he's been looking all over Silent Hill for. The Grand Hotel is in our sights, and hopefully Mary is waiting for us inside. And upon entering the hotel, the first thing that you can definitely obviously see is a map hanging on the wall with an interesting and eerie little message written on the map for once. Room 312, waiting for you. I guess that is where Mary is lurking, and we must follow suit and finally get some answers from Mary and her letter that she sent to us. Our quest to get to room 312 is obviously filled with blockades along the way, one being the enemies that we deal with easily with a shotgun. Bosses are now becoming normal enemy types, but they don't really put up too much of an issue. And then one of the main puzzles of this area is to find 3 music boxes. So forget keys, forget plates. This theme in the hotel is music boxes. And also a very infamous puzzle and section of this hotel is the elevator, which has a weird weight limit. You can't move in this elevator, even though it says 1 person limit. For some reason, it won't move, and we need to dump all of our items into a locker to be able to make this fully get round the basement areas of the hotel. I think it's a fair change of pace as well. With all this shotgunning and shooting we've been having, it's nice to feel a bit on edge in these final few sections and having to run past enemies and a little sense of worry and fear. So, yeah, I think it's a sensible and good use of design choice here, actually. Eventually, though, after a lot of hard work and avoidance and item collecting and puzzle solving, we finally make it to 312. With a VHS handily in the room, high technology, we slap the VHS that we found in a locker in this hotel and finally get to watch a sweet moment with Mary and James as they record a nice little kind of home movie together about the great time they're having in the hotel. The sweet chemistry from this VHS definitely shows why James has wanted to make sure that Mary is still alive with this letter, because it seems like these two got on really well. And then suddenly, oh, something happens and oh, yeah, this VHS holds a dark secret. One that we finally see. James is confining with Mary, and suddenly, what the heck? James gets a pillow and smothers her. Smothers her and smothers her and smothers her, and we find out the true fate of Mary. Once again, I love the use of the music and the atmosphere and the environment after this. The room and the sounds of James fall silent as one slow song plays. Not only does it sink in with James, but also it gives the player a time to think and put together what they've just seen. And just, you probably get theories running through your head, probably talking about what's just been going on. You go, wait, what? No, no, no. What the? James? All these things happen, and I think it's a perfect moment for a minute to just take a think about what you've experienced. As James tries to collect himself, another familiar face decides to come and give him a visit. It's Laura, and she wants to talk to James and find out if she knows anything about Mary. That's all she wants to know. I mean, she's just a sweet, innocent girl, and she's Mary's friend, she tells us, and James just tells her straight because he's found out what's happened to Mary. She's dead. Just bringing up the topic of death in front of a child obviously is a very hard and confusing matter to take in, and then Laura does try to ask more questions about how she died, what happened to her really, and James just straight up says that he killed her. The theories and the videos and the bits of information you've got through the game, this is finally James's acceptance and admittance to his guilt, his crime, his sin. This is it. He finally exposes it all. And Laura can't believe it. Laura can't believe, after everything they were both trying to do, that James had killed Mary all this time. It's a very powerful scene, this, and it's great to give the player that explanation and overall, like, realization, maybe, that if you just spell it out to you, really, isn't it? I guess that's the right way of saying it. Just going, look, he killed her, all right? That's it, straight up. And sorry isn't going to do anything about it, James. Poor Laura. With such a powerful reveal, James sits back down and feels sorry for himself. But then, literally, a voice from the grave speaks to him through the radio device that he's had on the whole time. Finally, it's tuned in enough so he can hear clearly. As we drag our feet through these wet hallways and doorways, we have one last person to meet before we can get to where we want to go. Laura is in our way, and the hallways are very much burning as she is very confused now. She encounters James, confuses her for a mama, and wants to really open up and talk to him. But as she looks into his eyes, she obviously realizes that she is not talking to her mama, and very much apologizes for her deep confusion. It's once again another situation where we learn about more this character's tragic past. Angela very much is exposing what basically is her upbringing, and sadly, even some really cold, hard truths she wants to explain, where she wished you didn't save her. Because her mum even says she deserved everything that happened with whatever her tragic family life had been. I mean, wow. What a, like, she's such a tragic character, Laura. There's a lot of confusion. She's definitely got some mental stability about her. And, yeah, I mean, what a poor girl. And if you couldn't feel any more sorry for her, she turns to James and demands something that we've had from her for a long time now. She wants a way out, and she asks for the knife back. For one and one reason only, clearly, the obviously message of suicide between her character and James's conversation has been a strong one, where she even admits that does he want to kill himself. Such a really dark conversation between two strangers. And then Laura just gives up and walks into the flames. The flames that we are experiencing with her. As we leave Laura behind, we finally reach the final depths of this hotel. And when we get to the final doors of this section of the game, we can definitely see we are getting there with one final fancy wall of save points. It's definitely a nice way of indicating and telling the player, look, this is the last save, man. So with the fancy final save, we take on the final steps of this game. Now, what evil mysteries lurk behind the final door? Well, as we see two mysterious thick doors, we hear another familiar voice again. And James turns around to see Maria is bound up by our good old friends Pyramid Head, who have, dropped the knife and prefer spears these days. They prefer to go thrust damage rather than slash damage. And in front of James's eyes, they do it again. They kill Maria for what seems to be a third time. And poor old James just slunches down and, I mean, just can't believe what's happening. So while he does slouch for a few moments, he then recollects everything in his head and realizes he must have created Maria for a reason to self-punish himself while he wasn't remembering what he had done to Mary. But now that he's remembered and now he remembers the sins he's done, he doesn't feel like watching Maria die over and over again is going to be any more punishment. It's time to get on with what's been said and done and deal with these two goddamn pyramid heads, hopefully for the last time. The combat isn't very different, just like last time. You see here, I did a very sloppy job of this pyramid head fight. I used a rifle as well. I don't think I'd ever used a rifle. It's a very slow weapon. I don't know if it does the most damage, but shotgun I felt more comfortable with. I don't know why I guess I had all that ammo I wanted to use it for a boss. But yeah, the whole point of this fight is to just keep doing damage to both these pyramid heads and avoid getting stabbed by the spears. You take quite a lot of damage by the looks of it when I went to the health screen and kept healing. But that's it. If I ever got poked, I'd eat a health item, and then when I wasn't getting poked, I was shooting them back. After being terrible and sloppy in this boss fight, and after sending a few more bullets into the two evil pyramid heads, they finally connect and they give up on life and just decide to commit seppuku with their spears. And that's it. Thus, the end of the pyramid heads after many, many different encounters. And they drop some eggs, which open the doors to get us to the final section of the stage. We gallop to victory up all these stairs to finally meet face to face Mary, that's going to be waiting for us with open arms, I'm sure. And as we reach the peak, we look round to try and find her, and there she is. As I previously mentioned, we were going for the Maria ending. This ending actually is a unique one. The other two endings for Water and Leave, you actually talk to this Mary, but it actually turns out to be Maria disguised as Mary. However, because we went for the Maria ending, this illusion of Mary is just a Mary illusion, and she ain't too happy, not one bit. So it all kind of unfolds a bit differently here. The admittance from James about killing his lover, the reasons behind it, Mary obviously explaining she done some things in the past to make him upset, so that's probably what led him to doing it. He trying to explain that it was all because he didn't want to see her suffer. That's what the real reason was. But at the end, James starts to realize that there were some other deeper feelings that caused him maybe to push him to this point of killing her. But there we go. Then he explains over the years he was tired, and the reason he now has Maria as this new illusion is because he misses the concept and company of Mary, and Mary illusion is not happy about finding out that Maria's existence is purely for that. And here comes the true form of the Mary we see now. This true final boss fight is annoying to say anything. She shoots out these moths, butterflies constantly that lock you into place, but they do quite a meaty amount of damage. You get like a couple of free shots. The real way to combat this would be to take a couple of shots, run away from the butterflies so you don't get like swarmed and absolutely attacked by them, and then do some pop shots at Mary. Like every fight, we send the final coup de grace with one last bullet, though, and she finally falls. Our final roadblock in this twisted world of Silent Hill comes to an end as the demonic Mary falls to the ground, and we're able to deal with it however we like. And simply, I just point the gun and shoot her. We don't need her around anymore. She was only an illusion anyway. With all the problems out the way, we are given our ending we went for, and luckily I did everything correct and did get the Maria ending. James goes back to the very first point where he met with Maria and starts thinking to himself, killing Mary again, which is very true. He's now killed Mary twice. Pretty insane. A lot of people consider this to be one of the worst bad endings of the game. I have to admit, I agree with them. This basically involves James accepting Maria, who he's created himself, this pseudo Mary, and accepts the fate of killing his wife, and just talking now to this wife 2.0 in a way. It's very much like that. And also, near the very end of this ending, James really delivers a really harsh final comment to Maria. Here it is. I'll let you guys listen to it. But God, the tone and the delivery he does here is pretty scary. And then she's coughing.
You better do something about that cough.
Ooh, boy. Seems like James going back to his own personality. But yeah, you get a letter from Maria in this ending, which is from Mary. It's a continuation from the letter at the beginning of the game, and it just talks about her background a lot more, about what she went through on her deathbed days. She was told that she was dying anyway, and it made her change her personality and her love towards her loved ones around her, pushing away James because she knows she's going to die, and it caused a lot of tension and issues between them. All this letter explains all of that, but at the end of the day, the letter at the very end expresses that she loved James, and it's quite a nice emotional delivery actually by the voice actress. But that is it. That is the end of the game. And once again, that's another game completed in the bag, game number 5. I love Silent Hill 2. I've not actually played 3 onwards on the PS2, so they're all going to be brand new experiences for me. But this game was great. The atmosphere and the music and the tension that the game had, even on a second playthrough, is very good. The combat is the only issue I have with this game. It's very meh, it's very clunky, but I can overlook that with just everything else about this game. The setting, the story, the ways that make you think about the characters and the environment, the music. There's so much I love about this game, and it's obvious because it's such a cult classic that I think that's why a lot of people do enjoy this as well. Also, wow, I mean, I really talked about this game quite a bit. A lot of it was story, but I liked the story in this, so I wanted to recap on all the story and some of the boss fights and everything. Thank you for hanging around if you made it this far. I didn't realize I would want to talk about this game for over an hour, but sometimes some games just do that, you know? So, yeah, Silent Hill 2, I mean, I don't need to say any more about it. You should probably already tell by my opinions, my enjoyment of everything, that I love this game. I think it's definitely always a recommend to play it on the PS2. Hey, but I hope the remaster gives this justice. I hope we still get the same amount of atmosphere, story, character development, delivery from the voice actors, and everything else in between. This game obviously always deserves its high ranked, high rewards, high spoken of points, yada yada yada. Definitely give this, if you've never played Silent Hill 2, grab the classic version if you want, even though it is going quite up in price, or just get excited for that HD remaster. Either way, Silent Hill 2, I don't even need to make a fake award or anything for it. We all know this is a good game. At least for the most part, it's a good game. The key collecting is a bit bland. There's not that much of enemy variety. Few bosses. The combat's a bit clunky, but you can't have everything good. I will always love you, Silent Hill 2. You were great. Thank you, thank you. My goodness, yeah, what a long video that was. Hey, and welcome to the end of the video. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you watched the whole damn video, thank you so much for that. You know, I like to do all that video editing. I like to try and talk about the games as best I can. Off the cuff, everything I enjoyed about it and want to show off. Also, special thanks to my sister who really helped me out with the spoof of the beginning of this game. I had a lot of fun wanting to recreate that spoof intro, and also thanks for my sister for being the voice actor for Mary for our spoofy intro. You're awesome, sis. We also can't end the video without doing one of these, and it's a streamer spotlight this week going to my good friend, Big Tall Not Small. He's a 6th gen runner like me, but does the original Xbox library. He's over 1,800 hours into his challenge and works really hard on his content. Awesome dude, go check him out. He's super laid back, loves to have a laugh, and just, yeah, loves his video games and works damn hard on them if and whenever he can. Just top dude, go check him out, guys. Also, I can't forget to thank you guys. Thank you for watching the streams, thank you for watching the YouTube content, thank you for the comments, and thank you for being a part of this. You can scroll down in the About Me section at the bottom of this video if you want to join my Discord, know about when my Twitch is, and everything else in between. Thank you guys as always for just being a part of this journey as we get through all these games, one game at a time. Speaking of games, before I forget, the next game in the challenge is from the Timesplitters devs, Free Radical, a completely standalone game. It never got any sequels or anything else. A very interesting game I've never played. It is Second Sight. Oh, I wonder what this game's going to be like. You'll have to wait next week to find out. I hope you guys enjoy it. And that wraps up an incredibly long video, but an incredibly fun time anyway. Guys, thank you for being here. Have a lovely evening, whatever you're going to be doing. And apart from that, thank you for watching the PlayStation 2 Collection Challenge.